Yeah, David Dread of Steel Pulse, and I'm saying hail to Lion Voice because it's time that the lion have its voice, have its own story. Says I'm stepping out here, hear me now. Yeah, the lion's voice. Raw.
It would have been my generation that really sort of shook up the educational system, you know, in turn, particularly in areas like London, Birmingham, Leeds, Bradford, where you had large concentrations of African Caribbean people.
Okay.
You know, but in London in particular.
So it was like a traveling Rastafari village.
Yeah. Yeah.
And what was that like? Because I've heard testimonies how heavenly and beautiful it was, but what was your experience with it as an organizer?
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. The workers always see things from a different perspective.
You notice I put that.
You know, workers are because you're working. Nyahbinghi took place everywhere we went. literally, you know, because at that time in Addis, I don't see that happening now if you're going to Addis. But at that time in Addis, wherever you're standing, is like you have a sea of people gather around you, you know. So a lot of what the elders used to do when that happened, they just started to chant and jump Nyahbinghi.
Okay.
Yeah.
How was that received by the Ethiopian people, seeing that for the first time?
No, they joined in a lot of the time. You know, a lot of the time. After the centenary and returning back to the UK, I'm trying to remember what day. I think we arrived back here the Monday.
Yes.
We arrived back here the Monday, and I visited the office, I think the following day.
Yes.
And decided I'm going to take the week off. Yeah, I decided I was going to take the week off, get some rest before get back into that. Which everything was fine in the office, there was nothing problem. The following Monday, returned back to work. We'd been robbed over the weekend.
Wow.
Yeah. Anything that you can communicate on was removed. And I remember taking a taxi from Wallatta Gyiorgis home. And from his home to where the Ethiopia hotel is, you have to pass the Menelik Mausoleum.
Yes.
And I don't know what happened. I couldn't tell you what happened. But the moment we got, it was pure gunshots.
Well, Lion Voice, tell them that's the people first choice. Lion Voice, make the lioness them feel nice. Lion Voice, with the lion cubs we sacrifice. Lion Voice, got to show the people them the life. Lion Voice.
Well, great is the Almighty, and greatly to be praised in the city of Haile Selassie I, the mountain of His holiness.
Yeah, from Cape to Cairo, from Timbuktu to the Nile, you know, the whole entire continent.
Beautiful for situation, the joy of the whole earth is Mount Zion, from Accra to Addis Ababa.
Yes, it's beautiful continent, better control, mama.
Very beautiful.
From Cape to Cairo, from Timbuktu to the Nile, I smile for Mama
I hear you call Mama Africa. Been so long since I gonna use solar energy, use sanitation to build the ecology. We utilizing green technology, we hailing Haile Selassie first without apology. And then we build the youth them economy, we dismantle Babylon monopoly. We teach the youths them how to live properly, tell them make sure them got the title fit them property.
Greetings in that divine name of His Imperial Majesty, Emperor Haile Selassie I. Glory and honor in the name of his chosen queen, Empress Waziri Menen. My name is Kwasi Bansu, aka Dejazmatch Kwasi, aka Ras Kwasi, aka the Reading Ras, aka the Panafrican Happy Man. I'm a creative industry attorney, I'm an author, I'm an artist, I'm an actionist, and right now I am the host of Lion Talk. Welcome to Lion Talk and welcome to the Lion Voice Network, where we are interviewing frontline workers in the vineyard of Rastafari. We are changing the narrative. People saying Rastafari not doing any work. We come to obliterate this narrative by bringing to the fore those who have been doing the works and continue to do the works, productive sons and daughters of His Imperial Majesty. This is a very great honor today for I personally, as a young Rastafari. Me gray a little bit, but me young still, you know, when we are talking about Rastafari, Chad. So this is such a great honor because today I have a guest, my first guest from across the water, called the United Kingdom. This guest has been a pioneer in terms of work, both in the UK and also in Ethiopia. Part of the historic centenary trod, we're going to have to talk about it. You know, part of many works over the years, no stranger to the Jamaica Rastafari family. Who am I talking about? Help I to welcome Lion Pride, Royal Queen and daughter of Ethiopia, Mama Wallatta Gyiorgis, also known as Sister Livet. Welcome.
Rastafari greetings, Ras Kwasi, and to your listeners. Thank you for inviting me onto this show today. Give thanks and praises.
Give thanks for agreeing to come on this platform. This is a platform that we are really using to connect the family globally. You know, the audience is mostly Rastafari ones, you know, of my platform. So family in Jamaica, throughout the Caribbean, a lot of the core family is really plugged in. And one of the things we want to do is to get to know each other, you know, and the works that we're doing so that we can feel proud about ourselves as Rastafari, to know that workers are out there. So please introduce yourself. Where were you born? And give us just a taste about your journey to Rastafari.
Yes, it's been a long road, Ras Kwasi. Firstly, I was born in Jamaica in the late 50s. I traveled to the United Kingdom to join my parents at the age of 5. Basically had all my school education here within the UK. As a young black child growing up here in the UK, was interesting in that my first experience with identity was when I joined my primary school.
Okay.
And the interesting thing is, it was children of Caribbean heritage.
Okay.
We're talking about 6, 7-year-olds in the playground. They approached me and asked me if I was from Africa.
Okay.
You know, I was, you know, I seemed to have been a bit of a novelty to these children. And I remember going home and saying to my mother, what is Africa? Where is Africa? Because, you know, as a young child coming from Jamaica, you understand where's that yard in Jamaica, but
Yes, yes.
it's not a word in your vocabulary at that age.
Okay, okay.
You know, so my mother obviously thought about it. So one evening she sat me down and she gave me a sort of very simple story about Jamaicans and where they came from, etc. And that itself created an interest in myself
Okay.
to understand why we were taken. You know, I'm talking about under 11 here, why we were
Yes.
taken. So I used to seek out literature in the library, etc.
Okay.
I think history was always a subject that I've sort of leaned to as one of my curriculum studies.
Okay.
And I remember I had a history teacher. Her name was Mrs. Gusef, and she taught me political history. She was about 14 at the time. And she actually introduced me to His Imperial Majesty Emperor Haile Selassie I in terms of my first awareness of who he is and his role he played on the world stage within the context of early 20th century. I remember being absolutely fascinated by the stories that she provided me with, but the interesting thing about it was that when I heard the name, it was like I knew, it's like somebody I knew, that was the overwhelming feeling that came over me that, oh, I know him, but you just can't put it, but you know.
Yes, yes. I had a similar experience.
Yeah, and from there, life goes on, you're growing up, you grow up, etc. And it was on leaving school, because I suppose I was an avid reader, whilst I was in school. So, you leave school and then you have an opportunity to look at yourself, because you spend all your formative years within the English education system. But really, there was a void. There was nothing, there was nothing about self.
Yes, yes.
And that was one of the first things I recognized after coming out of school is myself as a Black woman, as a Black person within, within the society and the world at large. Yeah, so and one of the aspects of it, well, I found myself spiritually wanting that development, a development within self, and I suppose it's all a part of knowing self. And I found the first year after leaving school, I spent a lot of time reading and trying to find linkages with us in the Bible.
Yes.
And His Imperial Majesty, etc. And which drove me to look at the history, the lineage of His Imperial Majesty and who he was, and then marrying his lineage up with the chapters in Revelation and coming to that conclusion, yes. Because I don't know of anyone at that time, I knew of no one else on earth that could, that I could identify with from that time till the present time.
Yes, and even right now it remains the same.
It's the same. It's the same, yes. But
Because
you're growing up, you're developing, and getting an understanding for yourself.
Mhm. Were Rastafari people present, in your moving around? Were you seeing other Rastafari people there in the UK? And you're in London?
I'm in London, yes.
Yes.
Yes, I was seeing other Rastafarians um within the community, but I would say not at the time. At that time, there were Rastafarians within the community, but I couldn't say that I was very involved because
Yes.
I'm just coming out of school, trying to find myself within it. And then, it's like a osmosis, I suppose, if that's the right
Yes.
word.
Did
That's
did you know what they were about, what they were dealing with when you saw these Rastafari people?
no, not at first. No,
Okay.
no, not at first.
So when you come to this revelation, looking in the Bible, looking for yourself in the Bible, seeing
Mm,
the connectivity,
yeah.
did you know that this was connected to these Rastafari people that you saw?
No, not until I engaged in conversation, started to engage in conversation um, with the ones that I met and have always been a part of my life.
Yes.
Um, and that's when I got the understanding that we're really on the same road.
Oh, wow. That's fascinating. That's
Yeah.
fascinating because a lot of sisters come through a brethren.
No.
And the eye is saying that through your own study of the
Mm,
history, you
yeah.
came to this revelation, and then now you realize there are other people who had reached this conclusion as well.
Yes. That's right.
Okay,
That's
okay,
correct.
beautiful. And about what year are we talking about?
We're talking about when that sort of mid 70s,
Okay,
mid 70s, from there on. Yeah.
powerful,
Mm.
powerful. So, what was give us a visual picture of London in the mid 70s. What was that like?
Well, London in the mid 70s, you have to remember, you probably, heard the exploited word Windrush
Yes, yes.
generation,
It's
Um,
in the last couple of years that word has come to the
yeah,
forefront.
yeah, yes, because if you look, all those that start after the World War II and came here to the UK from 1948 up to 1972, they're considered the Windrush generation.
Okay.
Now, when you look at my generation, I really never know whether to classify myself as first generation or second generation because I wasn't born here.
Okay.
So I, so I always classify myself as first generation. Like,
Yes, yes,
as even though like my parents, they were older, but I see myself as part of that first generation that
yes,
came.
yes.
And so it would have been my generation that really sort of shook up the educational system, particularly in areas like London, Birmingham, Leeds, Bradford, where you had large concentrations of African Caribbean people,
Okay.
but in London in particular, because the education system was not really prepared to meet our needs at the time. But what I found is that, they tried to cope with whatever syllabus they had,
Yes.
but the issues in London generally which became very poignant, was when you had the exodus of that generation leaving school,
Yes.
going onto the labor market, particularly the young black males,
Yes.
you know, who, when the discrimination, etc., in terms of the type of employment, and then obviously a lot of them came out to a thing we call the sus laws. I don't know if you're familiar with them.
I'm not familiar. Please explain. So, and my viewers were very curious. So please, you know, don't feel like you're talking too much. Explain everything.
Yeah, yeah. You find like particularly the boys, that generation that came out of secondary school, were very much found themselves in conflict with law enforcement.
Yes.
And that's when the sus law became an issue, because at that time, a police officer only had to suspect that you've done something. Can you remember that generation would not have been aware?
Yes.
You know, a group could be standing, congregating, just being boys. The next thing they used to do is find themselves in police cells.
So they criminalized coming together.
Yeah, in police
Yeah.
cells. And I knew, like, at the time, when I looked at London at that time, in communities where we lived, we very much all knew each other.
Yes.
And so I found I spent quite a bit of time going in and out of police stations.
Okay.
You know, the parents asked me to go in and find out what's happening to their sons.
Oh,
You know,
wow.
a lot of them used to complain about being beaten awfully. And
Wow.
you know, and this went on for quite a period. And what a lot of people don't realize is that the 1981 Brixton riots was a culmination of it.
Okay, because the people had enough.
Yeah, that was a culmination of it.
Okay.
Yeah, you know.
So in terms of what was the music like? Because I grew up in Toronto. There's a heavy Caribbean influence, but Jamaicans are on the top of that totem pole in terms of the culture. We kind of dominate the other islands in the culture in Toronto, where I grew up. And I've heard that London is very similar. When I hear even today, the young people talk, it's a lot of Jamaican patois in the slang, you know. What was the music like? What were you listening to in the 70s in this, you know, was it a Black Power time? What was the energy?
I would say it would have been the same as in Toronto, because if you look statistically in the UK, Jamaican music did dominate, as well as calypso music.
Okay.
I would, say that the Jamaican music at that time would have been more dominant. I mean, the calypso, you'd hear 1 and 2 calypso. It's not, I think the carnival has actually put the calypso and soca music on the map, but
Yes.
in the UK, but I would say yes, predominantly reggae music. And, the same artists that were coming out of Jamaica at that time, your Burning Spears, you name it, the
Yes.
Yeah.
And that was one of the big tour stops, the UK, London especially, was one of the big stops where all of those artists would come. Bob Marley was there for a time. Did you ever get to see Bob Marley live?
No, I personally didn't get to see him live, but my late husband, Wulde Mahidin,
Yes.
he knew Bob Marley. He was one of the people that sort of looked after Bob within the community himself.
Okay.
And a couple of brothers at the time, because I think at that time people like Claudine Massop and them were here in the UK.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
I don't even know that part of the history.
Yeah.
So take us to your college days. You're coming into this Rastafari fullness. How does the link with the community grow, or how does that happen?
I suppose being I was driven towards the law, seeing what was going on
Okay.
within our community. And nothing's worse than when people don't know their rights in an environment where you can't help yourself. So I was very much driven, and I would say that would have been going on to college and higher education. That was my main focus at the time. And then I did a postgraduate in the same field, but I wanted to focus on poverty and the law.
Yes.
That's where, I wanted to focus on that because I felt very much at the time where our community was, having that understanding and being able to weave through the challenges that was in front of us. But I would say, because of my passion and my community, I started to work in certain institutions, but I think after a couple of years, I became kind of me being me. I really wanted to be in something that I was passionate about.
Yes, yes.
And I really felt I want to work in my own community.
Okay.
Yeah, I wanted to work in my own community. And that was the conclusion. And in saying that, even within that time, it's a lot of knowing yourself spiritually.
Yes.
And your strengths. So I came to the conclusion, I don't want to be in an environment where I feel alienated.
Okay.
I want to be in an environment where, I'm happy to be there because I can see what I'm serving.
It makes sense. It makes sense. So how old were you when you made this decision to work in the community?
I was 22.
22. Okay.
Yeah.
And what position did you find that you could work it with in the community?
Well, it so happened that I got involved in a women's group,
Okay.
a RasTafari women's group.
Okay.
And that's where we started to develop projects.
Okay.
And I was in good hands because I would say they were between 9-10 years older than myself.
Okay. Okay, let's stick a pin. What was the Rastafari community like? And this is the mid-70s going into the late 70s.
Yeah.
What was the Rastafari community like? Paint a picture. Because I've always heard about, the UK being one of the most organized Rastafari communities. So for those who are not familiar with Rastafari in the UK, paint us a picture of what the community was like in terms of organization, mansion in the mid-70s.
Okay, I'll go back before the mid-70s.
Okay.
Because I'm coming into what I inherited.
Yes, exactly.
From the earlier part.
Yes.
So I would say in West London, you had a brother by the name of Elder, rest his soul, Emmanuel Fox. Are you familiar with the name?
No.
Emmanuel Fox, he would have been an elder that would have come during that same early part of the Windrush.
Okay.
He was I would say he was the person responsible for organizing the youths of I would say we're probably 9-10 years older than myself at the time. And through his organization, when I said no, I don't mean that singularly, but through his organizational work, he was able to, what he did, he organized the young people. They brought over the first branch of the Ethiopian World Federation.
Okay.
Yeah, brought over Emperor Johannes Local 33.
Okay.
That was the first chapter of the Ethiopian World Federation that came into the UK. And through the Ethiopian World Federation, they lobbied His Imperial Majesty Emperor Haile Selassie I for a branch of the Ethiopian Orthodox Church here in the UK.
So this was when the emperor was on the throne, he was doing this work.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's as I said, this is prior to the mid 70s. We're looking at early 70s here.
Wow.
So they built a branch of the Ethiopian Orthodox Church with His Majesty's consent, and the then patriarch of the church. The first branch was in a place called Labrador Grove. I don't know if you've ever been to the UK.
No.
Yeah, Labrador Grove. And you would be familiar with Abamandefro.
Yes.
Abamandefro became Abuna Yisak.
Yes.
Yeah, well, he was the priest, the Abba at the time, and he baptized a lot of Rastafarians when he came. But his area, his diocese was predominantly the Caribbean and the Americas. And then we had a priest allotted to us by the name of Abba Gabriel, who then became Abuna Johannes,
Okay.
who was responsible for the European regions of the church. Yeah, that was.
So the Rastafari community started with a Ethiopian Orthodox and EWF foundation.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. That's how the community started here predominantly. Although you had people like Jabones. I don't know if you're familiar. Are you familiar with Jabones?
I've heard.
He's an author. He had written a book. He had written a book called One Love.
Okay.
Yes, and
I'm not as familiar, so please educate I. And then when did the mansion start to arise in the UK?
I think when 12 tribes came
Okay.
to the UK. Yeah.
What year did 12 tribes arrive on the scene? Because I believe they're
70s.
Yeah, in the
Mid to late 70s.
Yeah, they started in the late 60s. So you're saying by the 70s, they were there early 70s?
I would say more mid 70s.
Mid 70s.
Yeah, I would say more mid 70s.
And what about Nyahbinghi and Bobo Shanti?
Yeah, but this is where I was going to come to when I mentioned Jabones.
Okay.
Yeah, Jabones is also an elder.
Yes.
Elder is his soul. He was based in North London, a place called Tottenham, and he ran an organization called the Rastafari Universal Zion.
Okay.
And Nyahbinghi was the core of his organization, as well as other things, but that was the core.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So he was chanting Nyahbinghi, but he had his own organization that he was functioning.
Yes.
The organ too. Okay.
Yeah.
So we have EWF, we have Ethiopian Orthodox, we have ancient Jabones.
Mm-hmm.
You said that you joined the Sistren organization.
Yes.
Where does that come in now?
In 1982,
Okay.
joined the Rastafari Women's Group, And the Rastafarian Women's Group was chaired by our sister Walata Mahidin.
Okay.
She would have been one of the foundational members of the first branch of the Ethiopian World Federation.
Okay.
All right. Remember I said earlier that Centre Fox had organized a group of young people around the needs of the movement.
Yes.
She being one of them.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. And in fact, perhaps one of the only active female in her at that time.
In that time.
Mm.
Pioneer. So she's a pioneer.
Yeah, Wallatta Mahidin, yeah.
Okay. Give thanks. Because we want these names have to be spoken about. We want the history. But this platform, Sister Walata, is about sharing our story, you know, and making sure that we are controlling our narrative and that people are hearing our narrative from the people who live it and not from a third party. So this is so important because I'm not knowledgeable about the UK Rastafari community. So in terms of you know, why did she start a woman's Rastafari group, or why did she feel the need?
Because of the needs of the community. You had a growing Rastafarian community.
Yes.
At that time, conflict with between community and institutions.
Yes.
You know, all those sort of factors.
Yes, yes.
What we focused on was setting up an advisory service, which was at the time known as the Rastafarian Advisory Service. And we had a children's area that every summer, when the children were given their annual holiday, we'd run programs for them.
Nice.
And take them away at least for 1 week on a residential trip somewhere in the rural areas.
Nice. Is anything like that happening today?
No.
Okay, because I was on a IDOR. We have a study group, and Ras Makapi was on the reasoning, and he said he feels that the movement has regressed.
Yes.
So when I'm hearing, all this activity and organization that you're talking about, inside of myself, knowing what's happening in DC as well, that we're not coming together, I'm becoming convinced that the brethren is right. You know.
Well, can I just? There's a number of factors.
Yes.
There is one. I don't think it's just that we're regressing. We've got to look at why we're at the stage we're at.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's stick a pin on that. We're gonna come forward because I want to go through the timeline. This is early 80s. Had you started growing your locks at this time? Were you covering your head? Were you wearing the long skirts? What was the dress code? Early 80s.
I was locks from 1978.
What's that? Say that again.
No, I started to grow my covenant from 1978.
Oh, 78. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So before 78, and just to give you some context, I was born in 1977. I'm just just give you some context.
Yeah. Yeah.
But so before 78, you were already acknowledging the divinity of His Majesty.
Yeah, that's what I was moving. Before 1970, I was moving.
Yes, and then 78, you said, "I'm holding the covenant now. I'm convinced."
Yeah, but don't get me wrong. A very important part I need to put in there. At that juncture, with our parents, it was, it didn't go down very well.
Yes, talk about it. Because I know, I've witnessed youths fighting with their parents physically because of Rastafari. So I can
Yeah,
imagine in your time how
yeah,
serious it was. Talk about
yeah.
it.
No, it was very difficult because remember a lot of at the time when that migration was taking place, you know, um, most of the Caribbean, particularly Jamaicans, is probably just something they'd heard about in the distance. They didn't have any direct contact, and those that did, they were familiar with all the negativity that society spurned at the Rastafarian community in
Yes.
in Jamaica at that time. So you've got to look at it from that background. And they've left, moved on, and then another they're here. They, I suppose it was kind of mind shattering for them.
Yes, they tried to make a better opportunity for you and you're throwing it all
So why
away.
do you need what's all this?
Yes, yes,
you
yes,
know?
yes.
Yeah, so you have to look at it from both perspectives because I know a lot of boys they became homeless.
Yes,
You know, what a lot of them did, they sort of formed things like House of Dread, where
yes.
a few of them found accommodation and lived in them. And I would say this is what you would have had. These are the same generation that come out of school after the 1970s, etc. So yeah,
Wow.
it was very difficult. But I tell you one thing, when the community was able to transcend that kind of period, it became one of the most creative in terms of young people, one of the most creative communities you could possibly have met particularly in the early 80s.
And this is what we have to examine because
Yeah,
I've been hearing about the vibrance of the UK Rastafari
yeah.
community
Mm.
size. How many people do you think in that heyday or that prime period in terms of numbers? How much Rastafari were around in those times? Rough estimate.
Um, I would have said I couldn't give you a number because I must admit the time has passed and I'm trying to
Yes, yes,
reflect
yes,
reflect that. But it was a sizable community.
yes,
Yeah, it
yes,
was a
yes,
very sizable, and I'm talking about north. In terms of London, it's north, south, east, and west.
yes,
And as I said, those provinces outside of London, like Birmingham, where West McCarthy is from,
yes,
Birmingham. You had a branch of the Ethiopian World Federation up there, and Birmingham was also a very active centre. Uh,
yes.
you got Leeds, um, Bradford, those areas, Coventry, Leicester, they're all very active. So it's very difficult to give you
A
a
number.
number now, a
So,
number now
but
because
it was a lot of Rastafari
oh
around,
yes, yes, yes,
and the persecution was heavy,
it was
um,
heavy.
from
Mm,
family, from police, from
mhm,
all sides.
mm.
Now that locks has become a fashion and a style, why is it that we have gotten less in number? These are the questions that we have to ask. We're not getting that level of persecution. And maybe that's why, maybe the fire has kind of let up a little bit because the pressure has let up. You know what I
Mm.
mean? But we'll touch that. So in terms of moving from the 80s now into the mid 80s, you're part of this women's group. The item are doing children activities. Um, when does the Nyahbinghi reach UK? When does this connection and were you already chanting Nyahbinghi in that early 80s period?
Yes, but to answer your last question, yes, we were because we used to. Jabones used to have a gathering
Yes.
once a month on Saturday. We used to go over because we enjoyed it. Going over
Yes.
there, you know, yeah, so yeah.
So were you jumping the Nyahbinghi with your shaker, with your shake at that time, or were you just observing?
No, I was in there chanting. Getting full. It's our thing, so you get involved.
Yes. Okay. But you know, some people come up Bingy and stand up and,
No, I
and
think
and just kind of watch what's happening. So you were actively chanting and
oh yes.
yes,
Yeah,
give
once you
thanks.
knew the chant, you were fully in there.
Give thanks. Give thanks. So when does the Nyahbinghi arrive in London?
Okay.
Order.
All right, let's look at it from the backdrop of the Rastafari Advisory Service.
Okay.
The Rastafari Advisory Service was, as I said, engaged in providing support to members of the Rastafarian community, but not just only the Rastafarian community, but also the statutory bodies, to provide and give them an understanding and of the needs of the community. As a result of that, we felt that we needed to do a program
Yes.
much wider here, where we can invite all the bodies, invite the communities from within the Caribbean region.
Okay.
It was marrying up the Caribbean and the UK and wherever else people wish to, but the focus was the Rastafarian community within the Caribbean.
Okay.
I'm hosting a program here in the UK. So that's when I felt Nyahbinghi was introduced to a wider audience, with it, you know, because you had Ras Gyiorgis,
Okay. I was just gonna ask if
Ras Gyiorgis, with his two angels, which he liked to call them Ras Iva and Ras Ivil, that came, and this was in 1986.
Yes, Sons of Yonder.
Yeah, and you had people invited like Miguel Lawn,
Yes.
Eleanor Wint, Dr. Eleanor Wint from the
Okay.
WI. You had a good cross section. You had sisters from the Ethiopian Orthodox Church branch in Jamaica. You had Bongo Wisely,
Right.
St. Lucia.
Yes.
So the farm.
Big up Bongo Wisely. He's a veteran of this platform as well.
Yeah.
Big up Bongo Wisely.
Bongo Wisely. They heard the call and they came, and I always give thanks and praises.
Yes.
That they heard the call and they came and was able to participate, you know, and in fact provide such enrichment to the community here in the UK.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember that brother name. There was another brother from St. Lucia. Then you had the brothers, them that ran Rastafari Speak from Trinidad.
Raseku. Raseku.
Yeah, Raseku. I know it was Rashango.
Yeah.
Rashango Baku.
Yes.
I can't remember if Raseku came.
Oh, it was Rashango.
But Rashango came.
Okay.
Another brother by the name of Munti or Muntaz.
Okay.
It was quite a good side delegation from Trinidad.
Okay.
From the US Virgin Islands. You know, we had a very good cross, and they were all able to do their presentations from where they were here.
Nice.
Yeah.
I can imagine that Nyahbinghi rock.
Yeah. Yeah. So it was interesting. You know, it was great to meet.
Yes.
Ras Gyiorgis, although although before the event, I did go myself and Sister Walata did visit Jamaica.
Yes.
You know, even though, because sometimes you could write, it's sometimes you need to do things in person.
So let's talk about that. What was it like for you coming from the UK, born Jamaican, but now experiencing Rastafari in Jamaica? Because I myself, I came into the liberty when I was in Washington, D.C. before I experienced it in Jamaica. So I, put on my covenant in D.C. and then I went home. I went to a Nyahbinghi and I could see the differences. What was that like for the eye?
At that time, we didn't actually go to a Nyahbinghi.
Okay.
Well, we did, because I suppose we had a program, and our program was about traveling to the respective areas to meet on a one-to-one basis.
Okay.
Yeah, the ones who we had sent invites to. So it was really just to seal up.
Yes, a diplomatic mission to make that connection.
Yeah, so that's really at the time now.
Okay.
But as I said, my experience with Ras Giyorgis,
yes,
has always been a pleasure, and I always maintain that he is a true ambassador of this movement. Simply by the way he conducts himself, and especially around women.
Yes.
Because I've been in situations like I've gone in the hills prior to meeting Ras Giyorgis, and it's like some elders, they don't want to see a woman near there, which I thought, sometimes you come here, it's quite frightening, but then you realize, you come back and you meditate on it, and you think, these women have run away or something like that. So every woman has to now suffer, that kind of story.
Yeah. Serious. It's a serious. A lot of trauma.
Yeah, so you realize it's trauma.
Yes. We're not immune from trauma in our community. So we
still have the trauma of slavery, never mind.
Exactly.
Other things, yeah.
It's true. So you had that diplomatic mission. You held this massive gathering in the UK. I know that the Nyahbinghi rock. I can just imagine just from names that you call. Yeah. So that leaves a vibration there. What happens after that gathering? Or what were the things that came out of that gathering?
A lot of things came out of the gathering. It's some time now, but the networking,
yes,
I think was one of the most important.
Yes,
that network and that bond that was created.
Yes.
And from the UK perspective, particularly some of the statutory bodies who attended some of the program,
yes,
it did give them a different approach in how they dealt with Rastafarians here.
Okay.
Because
they could see it was much bigger than they thought.
Yeah. So
not just some people in the UK losing their mind. This is a global.
That's right. Yeah.
Yes.
And it was also very good for the community.
Okay.
Itself. It was very positive for the community.
It was a morale booster.
Yes. Yeah.
Let me ask, how were you all able to finance such a gathering?
We were fortunate because the Rastafari Advisory Service had registered itself as a charity.
Yes.
So we were able to raise funds from different donors because of our charitable status.
Okay, positive.
Yeah, so that's what that's how we were able to manage and finance.
Yeah. I am an attorney, so I like to know the side and the lion pride, which is the audience. We're about actually getting things done. So this is why I ask these type of questions, because yes, we had a big gathering, but gathering had to be organized. As a person who has done those type of gatherings, I know plane tickets, I know food,
That's right.
I know accommodation, who's going to pick up from airport, who drive, you know what I mean? People not thinking about the logistics of something on that scale. So the fact that you have done that speaks volumes to where the community was at the time and the work that the advisory committee had really put in. So we have to always acknowledge the work that Rastafari sistering have been doing and continue to do in the movement. So leading out of this event was...
Sorry, before you go to that, just need to give you also that the program was for Rastafari Focus.
Okay.
But it was part of a wider program called Caribbean Focus.
Okay.
And it was an initiative taken by the Caribbean deputy ambassadors. Alex Pascal, don't know if you're familiar with the name.
No.
Alex Pascal was the person employed by the Caribbean deputy head ambassadors to this program at at that time, which no longer exists, the Commonwealth Institute. But it wasn't easy getting the Rastafari program in there. In fact, it took a year.
Wow.
It took a year because, and we were determined, because they're talking about Caribbean focus, but there would have been no Rastafari representatives if the Rastafari community is not part of the Caribbean community. And that's one of the reasons why we pushed it through there. And in the end, they gave us the space.
Beautiful.
To run the program,
Are any of these gatherings recorded? Is there any footage of any of these events?
There is footage, but they're still on VHS.
Wow. So this is the work that needs to be done to make sure that we start converting these to digital, because this is really part of our story that we need to capture. I'm very much concerned with us capturing our story, because a lot of our elders are passing now, and these are true berries that pass every time that they go. So the youths are not experiencing the liberty the same way they used to. So if we don't have a timeline, and if we don't really tell it and record it, it's going to be lost. You know what I mean? So this is why these conversations are so important. So we had something similar here in Washington, D.C. called Caribbean Cruise, where they were, the shower posse was here, and they had to do a campaign to educate about the difference between Rastafari and the shower posse. Nana Faraika, who has been on this platform, she was an integral part of that. Sister Dira Tompkins, Ras Abraham, we had community. This was before my time, but that was a serious effort to educate the public about Rastafari, and led to the 1988 Elders Trod that established Rastafari, or Nyahbinghi, on the East Coast in America. So, put an eye, was that the trod that established with Wallatta Gyiorgis coming? Was that the trod that established the Nyahbinghi in the UK?
As I said, it gave it, Wallatta Gyiorgis brought it to a wider audience.
Yes.
And I would say it would have been the trod that established it.
Okay. So what was it like for Rastafari in the mid-80s?
In respect, because we're in the mid-80s, sorry.
In London, mid-80s, this is because the event took place, what year did the event take place?
1986.
So I want you to just paint the picture of, was the community at its its pinnacle at the time? Was the community simmering? Was it, you know, at a low? What was the picture of
Oh
the
no,
community?
oh no, there was no simmering within the Rastafarian community at that point. That's what I'm saying. These were our most active periods, I
That
think.
was the fire blazing. Everything was firing on all cylinders.
Yeah, because I would say in terms of, as I said, I go back to creativity,
Yes.
you know, in various dimension, you know, that period was, I would say, would have been one of our most active and fruitful times.
Wow.
You know,
So-
you had Rastafarians, you know, were setting, you had, I mean, if I look at the landscape now, you don't see much, but during that time, you know, in terms of Rastafarian enterprises, etc., they were all over the place, you know, the self-help,
Yes.
you know.
So businesses, you're talking about Rastafari own business.
Yeah.
You're talking about Rastafari. What else were people doing at that time that was creative, that speaks to the creativity?
Art.
Okay.
Art is one of them.
So artists, creatives, Rastafari creatives creating artwork,
Yep.
different manifestations of creativity.
Yes, that's right. That's why I said I don't think there was an area that we weren't involved in, to be quite honest.
Okay. Okay.
You know, in terms of also in terms of the professions, you had more Rastafarians going into different professions. So, you know, I would say it's wide. It's difficult.
Goes wide, yes.
Yeah, because
but it was a thriving community.
Very.
Did they have a Rastafari primary school at any time in the UK?
You would have found Rastafarian supplementary schools, like probably on a Saturday.
Saturday school, okay.
Yeah.
Because I'm trying to determine if there has ever been a Rastafari. I know Mirja and Pierja have a school in Benin, but I'm trying to determine if there's ever been a Rastafari curriculum school that has ever been created. Are you familiar with anything of that nature?
Not to my knowledge at that time, no.
Okay.
I know there's been general black schools, but
yeah, but not a Rastafari specific. So we have work to do. We have work to do. So at that time, 86 going up, because I want you to take us into the centenary trod. What was the trajectory? Did it start to wane, or is it still ascending as we move into the centenary in terms of the vibrancy of the community?
Well, from I'm trying to think, the centenary, I'm thinking we're going to like 1989 now.
Yes.
I think during that period, between 86, what you had was more travel.
Trouble?
More travel.
Travel, okay.
Yeah.
Or the community started to branch out, because that's another feature of the UK community. You all go to Africa more than any other diaspora community.
Yes, I think you had a lot more travel from that period after the 86 period.
Yes.
More and more ones were sort of going into Africa, not necessarily Ethiopia, because you still had the Derg regime in Ethiopia at the time, but different parts of Africa, you know,
Okay.
You had more travel during that time.
More travel.
You know, in terms of like even the prison system.
Yes.
You had quite a number of Rastafarians in prisons. As you know, that a lot of it was brown herbs.
Yes, ganja related.
And then also, but then there's other areas where you had serious crime.
Okay.
You know, so yeah.
Did the shower posse and all of that hit the UK as well?
Oh yeah, definitely. And that was another, and this is another thing. They would have been with the time when you heard of the Yardies.
Yes.
They were in effect the shower posse, I believe. It did
Okay.
it in the UK.
Okay.
And I suppose there were some very bad influences on the community.
Because you said Claudia Massap and them man, they were there. So
No, well, that's before their time.
okay.
That's
Okay.
before. That's after. I mean, that's up. You know, this is after their time.
Okay.
Yeah, this is after their time. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah, because that would have been their late 80s, mid 80s.
Yeah, this was when. Yeah.
Yes.
Had
Yes.
all of that. You know.
But I say that to say that badness was in the UK from an earlier period. The criminal element was there from the 70s.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I mean, that's a feature even here in America. You know, a lot of the elders were involved with herb runnings and different things that were taking place. Economics of the trod. We have to talk about it. So talk about the first trip to Africa. What was that and when was that?
My first trip to Africa would have been 92.
For the centenary?
Yeah, prior to the centenary.
Okay. So you went before the centenary?
Yeah. In that same year. In that same.
Okay, and then you went again.
Yeah.
So what was that first touching down on this land that you had read about since you were a little girl? You've given your whole life. You've thrown away your Jamaican identity. How could you give up a continent for an island and now you touch on the continent? What was that feeling like?
Well, I must say, it was strange, really, because I remember my husband seeing me off at the airport to go to get the flight on to Addis Ababa. And I got onto the plane and I cried all the way there.
Oh, wow.
Don't ask me what happened, but I cried all the way until I landed.
Wow.
I mean, the stewardesses asked me, but I couldn't, I just thought I just cried.
Wow. Mama, that's your relationship, eh? You return to Mama with tears.
Yeah.
It's you know, it's a DNA reaction, you know.
Yeah.
Depending on your journey, you know.
Yeah.
So that might have been one of that ancestor that was torn, you know.
Yeah.
And the recognition of returning home, you know.
Yeah.
So all of that time. So wow, that's powerful. And I realized I missed a vital piece of the puzzle, which was when did you meet your king man? You know, what age was that?
1979.
Okay. Because we love a love story around here too, you know.
1979, and we were, and it was purely by chance, I'll say. 1979, and I would have been, no, tell a lie, late, towards the end of 1978.
Okay.
Because I know it was just before my 21st birthday.
Okay.
I was 20 years of age. Yeah.
Okay. And he was he already Rastafari?
Yes, he was. Yeah.
Okay. And you were already sighting up as well?
Yes. Yeah.
And you had your locks at this time, or you didn't have the covenant?
No,
yet?
I had my locks at this time.
Okay. And what was he approached the eye, or the eye approached the brethren?
Well, it was more of it was a family connection, really.
Okay.
Because I'd been friends with his brother for quite a few years.
Okay. So you're just in the same orbit, and and the stars collide.
That's right. That's correct.
Yeah. So what was that? You know, obviously, the brethren pass our condolences. But you know, I'm a bit advocate for family. Did you have children out of the union? How was that? You know, union. How would you describe?
It was a union that allowed me to be myself and grow. So, yeah, that you know that you know, if I look back and I give thanks, for who he was. You know, yes, I really give thanks to him, his strength, you know.
Say the
wise
brethren's
mind.
name again. Say the brethren's name. Let us let him live. You know, what is the brethren's name?
Wulde Mahidin, but
Mahidin.
most people would call him Japi.
Japi.
Yeah.
What were some of his works in the community? Because obviously you are a worker, so I know you're not going to connect yourself to a brethren with not also doing works.
Yeah.
So what was he doing in the community?
He very much within Rastafari, he would have been one of those youths, Rob Fox said, in terms of the federation and the church.
Yes.
He would have been like the first set that were baptized in the church and the federation. He was a very creative person. Yeah, he was a very creative person.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I said in terms of Bob Marley, in terms of when he was here.
Yes.
And others, they were the ones then that supported his stay here.
Okay.
And there's an aspect of him as well. He also liked the music side of things.
Yes.
So he used to put on a lot of events.
Okay, he was a promoter.
Yeah, he used to put on a lot of events with artists coming from Jamaica here.
Okay.
The well-known ones.
Okay, so he was very well known in terms of the community putting on events.
Yeah.
He was a mobilizer of the people.
Yeah, he was the mobilizer.
Because to be a promoter, you definitely have to do that, especially dealing with artists. What are some of the artists that he promoted? You know, some of the more memorable shows promoted in London.
They would have been very much artists at that time.
Yes.
Probably been, what's his name? Gregory.
Isaac.
Yeah, those artists of that time.
Yeah, Dennis Brown, those type of artists.
Yeah, I suppose that Dennis Brown, I don't think he's ever done a particular Dennis Brown one.
Okay.
He's done other artists.
Frankie Paul.
No, I don't think he did Frankie Paul.
Freddie McGregor?
No, not Freddie McGregor. No.
Okay.
But he would have done other artists who were
in that time. Sugar Minott?
Yeah, Sugar Minott was definitely one of his, yeah.
Okay. I know I would hit one of them.
Yeah. You asked me to go back now, yeah.
Yeah, but that's powerful because those are legends.
Yeah.
So that shows me the level that he was operating at. So definitely powerful brethren. And you say that he saw you off at the airport, you cried all the way, touched down upon Mama Africa soil now. What was the first move?
My first move was, I'm trying to think back now. My first move, well, yes, when I arrived, I was picked up by one of our most beloved brothers, Ethiopian Rastafari ambassador, Rasta Gassa.
Yes, big up Rasta Gassa.
Yeah.
I met Rasta Gassa here in DC with Solomon Wolf, you know.
Yes.
So big up Rasta Gassa.
Yes. Yeah. And I give thanks he was in Ethiopia at the time.
Yes.
You know, so he was my country link in terms of the Ras Tafari community.
Okay. And that was that like a reconnaissance trod for the centenary or?
Yes, it was, yeah.
Okay.
It was.
And I see a theme here because before the 86 trod, you went to Jamaica. You're very diligent in terms of logistics, reconnaissance, and I'm seeing that theme here, you know, and I like that. I like that commitment to getting things done, you know, because, you know, having organized many trods, it's important to know what you're getting into, you know.
Yeah, and what you're bringing people into.
And what you're bringing into. Exactly.
You know, yeah,
So I admire that about the eye. I will just say that. So take us through the centenary trod, why, because this was an initiative from my understanding that came from the UK.
yes, it
Many
was.
people many people don't know about it now, but it was one of the groundbreaking charts in the history of Rastafari in terms of the impact, and in terms of, I think it was a watershed moment in terms of Rastafari returning home to the continent. Take us through the how did that arise?
Well, okay. How you're asking? How did we get to the point where we?
Yeah, what was the concept? Who came up with the concept that we want to celebrate 100 years of His Majesty? How was the planning? What was the thought to bring ones from all over again? Was it related to the 86 trod? Just the whole, how did it come together?
Again, through the Rastafari Advisory Service.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, again, through the Rastafari Advisory Service. Ones that wanted, you have different ones that come through the service, and some come because of need, some come because they bring proposals. So I would say the centenary kind of evolved. There's a sister, and God rest her soul, because so many people have passed my bridge, and when I mentioned their name, I have to remember they're no longer here with us.
Wow.
After the Rastafari focus, which was in 1986, I got a visit at the office from a sister by the name of Sister Benji.
Yes.
Who had been living in Jamaica for quite a number of years, and she was very much involved with the Nyahbinghi house, I think predominantly the Montego Bay side.
Yes.
She had visited, and I had a meeting with her, and the reason she said that she heard about the Rastafari focus and that she'd be interested in working with us to do another Rastafari focus.
Okay.
But I said to her, I sort of abruptly said to her, there won't be another Rastafari focus. It served its purpose, why it was created at that time.
Yes.
But we kept in touch, and I invited her to various things, and I brought it up at our board, because the Restaurant Advisory Service was run by a board of trustees.
Yes.
And the trustees were made up of the foundational members of the Ethiopian World Federation and those members and the Ethiopian Orthodox Church.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
that was the trustees. So I'm just trying to show you the continuity.
Yes.
In terms of this work, because it's basically the same ones from that time until the century. So we'd raised the subject of doing an event. I'd raised the matter of doing another event. And through everything's through reasoning and coming to a consensus among yourselves. And that's how, when we looked at what was happening, this is by 1989.
Yes.
Recognize that His Majesty's centenary was coming up. So we decided that we would work towards it. So we had 1989 to 1992 to get it all together. And it was predominantly, as you say, to celebrate the year of the Creator, and also to bring the land grant was there, but there wasn't happening on it. You know, there wasn't really no drive or anything that was happening on the land grant. And so we thought it would, you know, the two would stimulate an interest in the land grant and its development. Yeah. So that's the foundation of why the centenary, really.
Wow. And that shot, of course, there were two videos that were made. I think it was Year of the Creator was one of them. I had that on VHS.
Okay.
No, I think I had it on DVD. Yes,
you put that on DVD. Ras would have put them out on DVD. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I had it on a DVD, and then I heard that there was another one that was made as well. Do you know the name of the other video?
You see, there was quite a few of them. There was quite a few of them that came. I'm not quite certain which one it is because quite a few of them was made during that.
Okay. What do you think the impact of that trod was? Well, explain to those who are not familiar how many people came on the trod, and what do you think the impact was of that trod?
Okay. That impact, that trod, the impact of there and here, before and after it, has been interesting. Coming up, before we go to the trod, you have to understand the background. Okay.
Take us there.
Yeah. If you remember, we're now talking about at the time when we were so blatant in organizing a period to go and celebrate His Majesty's birth in Ethiopia. You have to remember the political background.
Yes.
1989, you still had
the Derg
operating. And I remember when we started to get feedback regarding the purpose, a lot of it was, how are you going to go there? And the anti-Selassie, you want to go down to Ethiopia and celebrate His Imperial Majesty's birthday. It's not going to be allowed. This was some of the...
Yeah.
So, I just thought, we'll cross that road when we get there. So 1989 now, a lot can happen between now and 1992, because after all, we wasn't going to do anything wrong.
Yes.
But I noticed as we progressed, particularly the last 6 months before the trod was supposed to take place, our finances were stopped.
Wow.
The Rastafari Advisory Service, because you would have probably heard, the Centenary Committee.
Yes.
Yeah, but the Centenary Committee was predominantly the trustees of the Rastafari Advisory Service.
Okay.
With a few others we co-opted in.
Okay.
Okay. So.
And that was created because the advisory committee finances had been stopped?
No, it was stopped after we created.
Okay.
When it started to become public knowledge.
Okay, now I've
we were organizing to take ones to Africa.
Yes.
Okay. We started to experience certain things with our telephone lines. Yeah, but it was really, but we were determined that that's where we're going and etc. During the course of this, we had the Crown Prince visit us. He'd never visited the service before. The Crown Prince Yakub.
Okay.
He was very much interested to know about the program, etc. By 1991, May 1991, we all got the news that the Bahatuas had come in 3 days before into Addis and talked about the snakes that will disappear. 2 days after the Derg fell.
Wow.
So it was a celebration for us because it just, it was a celebration for us when we heard that, and all steam ahead for 1992 up to May 1991.
Yeah.
Now, don't get me wrong, there was a lot happening in the background to try and destabilize that whole movement towards that event. But you have to stay focused. And as I said, in March 1992, it came to the point where I had to go to Ethiopia. My trustees sent me to Ethiopia to go and deal with the logistics in terms of dealing with government departments, etc., getting them, introducing it to them, even though we might have been in contact, but it was at face to face. What I found going into Ethiopia at that time and talking about His Imperial Majesty, I felt they were very embarrassed in the fact that they gave up a king for what they had to endure for 17 years.
Wow.
And that came over quite clearly. And they were very supportive. They loved it. They opened the doors. The university cultural department were there to, gave us all the openings we wanted for the event. The director for tourism gave us the support that we needed in terms of getting the delegation from one place to the other. So it was basically that aspect of it was smooth.
Wow.
And as I said, thanks to Tagassa again, because he speaks the language and was able to brilliantly support that whole period I was out there. There was only one thing which I was concerned about, because I had a routine while I was there. From the hotel, I used to travel Brother Tagassa because it was during the time of Lent,
Yes.
which is the fasting period.
Yes.
So I used to travel from the hotel every evening and have dinner with them. And usually by 8 o'clock, I'm back in the hotel in the evening.
Yes.
And I remember taking a taxi from Brother Tagassa's home. And from his home to where the Ethiopia hotel is, you have to pass the Menelik Mausoleum.
Yes.
And I don't know what happened. I couldn't tell you what happened. But the moment we got, it was pure gunshots.
Wow.
And all I knew, and always say, you know something? It's like the angel Michael was driving that taxi because he never said one word until we got back to the Ethiopia hotel. All he did was come out, checked his car, and that was it.
Wow.
And I rang Brother Guest and told him I've got to change up my times when I come to your house, and explain to him what happened.
Wow. So it was a gunfight in the street or something?
There was no gunfight in the street. The gunfight came from the mausoleum.
Okay.
Mm.
So what were they doing? They were shooting at the mausoleum or to the, what was
They
happening?
were shooting at the vehicle.
Why?
I asked. But then,
Wow.
of course, you got the you would still have the anti-Haile Selassie elements, them still within the society.
Okay. Okay. So you think they were associating the eye with Haile Selassie?
Well, as I said to you, well, it would have been common knowledge. Remember,
Yes.
in those communities, it's not like at that
Yeah.
time. Yeah.
Exactly. Everybody knows you're there.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. The purposes of it is, yeah.
Well, we give thanks that
Yeah.
they were successful.
So it was, that's what I'm saying. There was a lot to it, but give thanks. We got back and the delegation, there was three separate delegations that went in at 3 different times during the centenary.
Mm-hmm.
And I know we had actually booked a villa.
Yes.
The villa was set up to house about 40 people.
Yes.
Yeah. And then we had ones who stayed independently.
So it was like a traveling Rastafari village.
Yeah. Yeah.
And what was that like? Because I've heard testimonies how heavenly and beautiful it was, but what was your experience with it as an organizer?
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. The workers always see things from a different perspective.
You notice I put that.
You know, workers are because you're working. You know,
Yes,
it's not.
yes.
You know, because you have to make sure, blah, 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 you know, to get from here to meet that program. So
Yes, yes.
yes, the
But
main.
it was beautiful though. It was beautiful.
It was beautiful. Ethiopia at that time was beautiful, absolutely beautiful.
Yeah.
You know, you know, there was a lot of interest by the Ethiopian community.
Yes.
You know, yeah, I would say it was absolutely beautiful. Nothing is without issues, especially when we come together at times, and it's sometimes overstanding, whatever. But overall, it went well.
Give thanks.
Yeah,
Give
overall, it went
thanks.
very well. Yeah.
And how was the Nyahbinghi that took place?
Nyahbinghi took place everywhere we went. literally, you know, because at that time in Addis, I don't see that happening now if you go into Addis, but at that time in Addis, wherever you're standing is like you have a sea of people gather around you, you know. So a lot of what the elders used to do when that happened, they just started to chant and jump Nyahbinghi.
Okay.
Yeah, you know.
How was that received by the Ethiopian people, seeing that for the first time?
No, they joined in a lot of the time. You know, a lot of the time. But the main ISIS was actually on the land grant.
Yes.
It's actually on the land grant, which we put up a temporary structure, because this is what I'm saying, really, there wasn't anything there.
Yes.
You know, apart from you had the pioneer settlers like Mama Bar, Papa Bar, you know, and the other settlers that, I mean, they were spread across the land grant.
Yes. And that time Shashamane was not as developed as the bustling city metropolis that is there now.
That's what I'm saying. It was complete. They were, you know, you've got to look at. It was rural, and you have a house here, because remember when His Majesty had visited the land grant after many years, and he said to the bars, "Where are my people? Where are they? Where are they?"
Mm.
And that's when he had actually divided and given each settler 25 hectares each. So you can imagine how spread out they were.
Wow.
Yeah. So yeah. And that's the positive I think came out of the centenary, that encouraged a lot of ones to go into session morning and build and develop.
And develop. So
And
it was
develop.
really a spark that
Yeah.
led to the creation of the Nyahbinghi Center, and some of the different structures and entities there. So you're a part of the living history. I want to just let you know how thankful we are for the contribution, and this is enlightening for so many ones, because on this side of the ocean, a lot of ones are not familiar with the works that have happened in the UK, one of our most strongest Rastafari communities globally. And I think it's very important for us to really highlight some of these occurrences. Now, at the time of the centenary, was the UK Rastafari community still strong? As it was at the Caribbean focus time or Rastafari focus time, was it still as strong?
The community was strong at the time of the centenary, but I can say that, as I say, I don't know if you could say, if it's a growth or is that people had gotten older and they started to move in different directions, you know. But one of the things, what I can tell you, because I can only tell you what my experiences are.
Yes.
When I came back after the centenary and returning back to the UK, I'm trying to remember what day. I think we arrived back here the Monday.
Yes.
We arrived back here the Monday, and I visited the office, I think the following day.
Yes.
And decided I'm going to take the week off. Yeah, I decided I was going to take the week off, get some rest before get back into that. Which everything was fine in the office, there was nothing problem. The following Monday, returned back to work. We'd been robbed over the weekend.
Wow.
Yeah. Anything that you can communicate on was removed from the premises.
Wow.
You know, yeah. That is what we came back to.
Did they take any records or anything like that, or it was just the devices?
The computers, phones. Remember, we're not even talking about mobile phones at the time. We're talking about landlines.
Wow.
Anything you could communicate on,
they took it away.
Was removed from that building.
Was that a case of assault?
No, it wouldn't be, would it? It wouldn't be. I mean, obviously, you know, when the police, they came to the premises, she looked at me, she said, whoever came in here came to kill your existence. I said, that's quite evident.
Wow.
You know,
yes.
It's quite evident that's what it is, you know. So that was our experience.
Serious.
And, you know, in our boardroom, we had photos of His Imperial Majesty and others, and the only one that was removed was the one of Marcus. Was taken was the one of Marcus Garvey. I thought, yeah. And what did Marcus Garvey represent?
Mm.
Mm,
Africa for the Africans.
yeah.
Mm.
So
What a thing.
yeah, so that was
So they're sending a message about that Africa piece.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Stay out of Africa.
yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
That is a serious thing. I want to talk about a serious topic that I've been thinking about as we're talking, and then we'll seal up. This is going to be part one because I realize when I talk to people like that, we can't get it all in one interview because
No.
it's so much history.
Mm,
And this platform, the Lion Voice Network, you know, we pride ourselves. It's a journey, you know. So many
mm,
people come 1, 2 times, 3 times,
mm,
you know, in person because I have to meet the eye in person.
mm.
So there will be opportunities to get the full story. But I have to ask the eye what the eye think are the challenges. You know, currently you've said that the community is not in the same vibrant state that it was when you were there. We're not
Mm,
seeing, you know, many people I talk to put on their covenant as teenagers. We're not seeing teenagers come to the trot again with that zeal and that vibrance anymore. You know what I mean? In terms of being teenagers,
mm.
you know, what is happening in the UK? Why do you think it's happening? And then what recommendations, you know, someone with the eye wisdom, um, you know, how can we turn the tide? Obviously, we need young people to ensure the vibrancy of the child. Um, you know, what is the eye's assessment?
Yes, I agree. Um, that the zealousness, you know, looking at it from a young person, and sometimes you're looking at it through your own eyes and your own experiences. That if you want something, you go and get it. You're not waiting for anyone to come in because it's yours. If you want your thing to grow, you've got to be active within it. Um, yes, we've moved on. A generation of us have moved on. You have got young people, particularly because at the last gathering, I must admit, 7th of January, I must admit, each gathering is different. But this
Yes.
particular gathering, I realized that we had a lot of young people there.
Okay.
But these young people, funny enough, were children of elders who have passed.
Okay.
And you don't see them regularly, to be quite honest, at the gathering, but it was just interesting. I find it quite interesting. So you still got a lot of young people.
Are they trotting Rastafari, these young people, or are they
Yep,
just
they are. They are.
okay?
They are.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. So it's basically how we get them active. I think that's where our focus needs to be.
How to get them active, how to get them engaged with an
Yes,
organization or in the
yeah,
actual works.
yes, yeah. And
Because you're right, you can embrace Rastafari as a culture and you kind of have
mm,
it there, but then there's also the works that need to be done to push this thing forward. So we're not seeing young people. You know, I'm part of several organizations, and I'm typically the youngest. You know, and I can't go out into Babylon and act like I'm a young man. You know, I would love to, but you
mm,
know, in my professional sphere, you know,
mm.
people would laugh at me if I call myself a youth. You know what I mean?
Yeah, of course.
So you know, I'm 40 plus,
Mm,
and we had a big debate on Idol study group about, you know, can 40-year-olds be calling themselves youths? You know, in all seriousness, and it was
mm.
a hot debate. You know, because we're not allowing there to be actual youth if we just claim up the youth and you beard full of gray. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah.
So we really have to look at ourselves right now I'm so thankful to have ones like the I who are custodians of the history. I want to make more connection with the UK family. So I definitely will be reaching out to the I for recommendations, who else we can interview
Yeah, no
and
problem.
and start to, because that's why I really created this platform, is so that these stories can be circulating. Yes, we have them on phone calls or in meetings, but most of the time we're talking to the choir, you know,
Mm,
on a very small core. And if we want people to come into the work, we want that
mm,
energy. We have to really own the narrative. We have to put it out there in media where the youth are consuming, which YouTube, is the second largest search engine. So when people search UK Rastafari, they have the ISO that they will be able to access in terms of hearing it direct from people who have lived it, and it's not a
mm,
BBC journalist telling you some foolishness will never go so, and they were not
mm,
there. And a lot of time we wait for that BBC documentary or the this or the that we might feel good, and they
mm,
put a 2-minute soundbite of an interview they did with somebody, and then their context around it. We have to
mm.
do our own story. So I just want to thank the I for taking time on a Sunday from your busy schedule to bless us. I didn't ask the I before. Can you just introduce your profession, what the I does in the UK, and then the works with the National Nyahbinghi Council, how one can support the work that you're doing now, and how they can get in contact with the I for any works in the future.
Okay, I currently since my children were born, I've been focusing on accounting, and
Okay.
that's what I do professionally as work now.
So we have a professional Rastafari accounting family. I want
Yeah,
to drill this into the family's head, because we're not just reggae artists and jump up on a stage and we burn ganja. We have doctors, we have accountants, we have lawyers, we have all fields
mm,
in Rastafari, core Rastafari people. I'm not talking about fringe. So
mm.
continue. I'm sorry, I get excited, but continue.
Yeah. This is as I said, I've been focusing on since I had children.
Yes.
Um, in recent years, I'm now chairperson of the Nyahbinghi National Council here in the UK.
Okay.
Um, predominantly, since COVID, our focus has really been on the actual gatherings, ensuring that those gatherings are hosted on our holy days. 2024, we recognize that we've got to widen our scope because we've had some challenges in terms of premises,
Yes.
etc., in hosting our gathering, because there's things that they still not let go since this whole COVID lockdown here. It's
Okay.
subtle. It's subtle.
Yes.
So seeing that, I think as a community that we have to reorganize and uh, find a different approach in terms of, because I tell you, my vision here for the UK is acquisition. I mean, I personally say we need an estate.
Yes.
We need an estate
With
where,
land. How much land?
well, the estate would be our HQ basically here in the UK
Okay.
for our events. We can running programs throughout the year other than gatherings. Focus on the youth. We can use it also as a hub for when our people come in across the various nations.
Yeah.
And obviously there needs to be a farm area. That's where I personally, for 2024, in the UK, that's where I think we need to be.
Yes, and this is in line with globally, we're talking about
Yeah.
repatriation centers,
Yeah. Mm.
basically refuges, because if global shipping shuts down, which is looking like we're moving to a global war, where, importation of food, as Rastafari, we have to make sure food and water security,
Yeah.
wherever we may be domiciled, because you might not be able to get a flight out right away to go to Africa or wherever. So the people who are in the spaces, we need refuge where we know we can go to this place. As you
Yeah.
say, there's a farm, there's a food storage system, there's a water supply, where we can live our Rastafari way of life without having to take the mark of the beast. Because
Yeah.
remember, it said, without this mark, you can neither buy nor sell. So the government assistance program to get access to the goods and services might not be something we are willing to accept.
Mm.
So we really have to prepare in every region that we are domiciled, those who are not trodden, how do we set up these centers? So what you're saying, I think it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And
So
go
not
ahead.
to continue, but yeah, because we have to think about the younger
Yes,
ones that might not be able to leave,
exactly.
and yeah, and I think we have a duty to provide something, because the way I look at it in here in the UK, Babylon make it look like we've not done anything.
Yes,
Yeah,
with such a rich history
yeah, they
of
make it
works,
look,
and
yeah.
that's why it's important to for the item to record the works
Mm,
and to share the work so that there's a legacy and a milestone, and we can't just minimize and erase, and also call the names of those workers. That's why I ask you the names as you're speaking, because we have to keep the memory alive. We have people who have given their lives to Rastafari that are no longer here. We have to call their name so that their
sure.
legacy lives, from generation, because they did do some great work. Some magnificent workers have passed through. I've met many of them, people like our beloved Sister Ijanya, who I always call her name, who's no longer with us. We have other ones who are really have passed through with such a brilliant light, and done their work, and they have trod out of the physical. We have to do our duty to call their names and to preserve the legacy. So I give thanks for the eye. We hit the 2 hour mark. I have to be respectful of your time. This is part one, family. So make sure you subscribe, you like, you share, you return, because this is the hub. I have the most interviews with Rastafari history than any platform in the world. I claim that. I want someone challenge me on that, because I feel it's so important that we hear the narrative from the sisters. We don't want to talk for them. They are telling their stories. They have been a vital part from the beginning of the movement. So this is a great honor. I am working currently, no problem, that we edit that out. I have been working with Sister Walata. We're working on some repatriation focus activities. So this is not the last time that you will be seeing our beloved Elder Sistrin, who, as we say, we didn't even scratch the surface. Just some of the works, the centenary, the Rastafari Advisory Committee, such a great and powerful legacy of work from one of our foundation sisters. So you can't say that them don't know Mama Wallatta Gyiorgis. And thank you so much for sharing with us. Any final sound before we sign off here? Take your time. Take your time. This is pre-recorded, so take your time. Yes.
Sorry, I just had one of those in my throat.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought you were getting emotional.
No.
There. You just went down the wrong pipe.
Yeah.
Yes. Take your time. But yes, this was such a beautiful, I felt like a student today, just
Sure.
learning. Because I've never been to London, I've never been to the UK, but I know it's a place I have to visit. So I really, and I've always heard, from Mama Faraika, always speak so highly of the UK community. She always told me they are the most organized community. They are doing the most in terms of Africa repatriation. So it is a joy to really hear,
Yes.
where it's coming from. But yes, whenever you're ready, final words.
Well, I'd like to give thanks for affording me this platform. And thank you so much for remembering the sisters of this movement. Really appreciated. And, it gives us the opportunity as historians to, as you say, document a part of our history within the movement. And hopefully it will act as inspiration to the younger generations coming forward.
Yes.
Yes, and I really would like a part 2 because I think there's things I would have liked to have included in here, which is to look at the background that we're operating against.
Okay.
And this background whose role is to destabilize us.
Okay.
And it's through experience, by an experience of seeing it.
Yes.
Cunning.
Yes.
Yes.
So it's not by
your listeners.
Yeah, it's not by chance that some of these things have broken down over time.
No.
We've been attacked.
Yeah, definitely.
Wow. And from the UK, knowing the UK government, knowing their attention to their colonies, and knowing, they more than anybody know the power of Rastafari.
Yeah.
So definitely I could see what you're saying. So that's going to be an episode by itself where we're just going to go into the background and the context. So give thanks, Mama Wallatta. Give thanks for the contribution. We've done 2 hours here, and then we've just scratched the surface. So again, family, make sure you like and subscribe. Keep in tune. I'll let you know when part 2. We're not going to wait too long before we bring part 2 forward. But as you know, we say here that the time has come for the lions and the lionesses to tell our own story. And this is the lion's voice.
Lion voice.
Well, great is the Almighty, and greatly to be praised in the city of Haile Selassie I, the mountain of His holiness.
Yeah, from Cape to Cairo, from Timbuktu to the Nile, the whole entire continent.
Beautiful for situation, the joy of the whole earth is Mount Zion, from Accra to Addis Ababa.
Yes, beautiful continent, better control, Mama Africa.
Very beautiful.
From Cape to Cairo, from Timbuktu to the Nile, I smile for Mama.
I hear you call Mama Africa. Been so long since I see Mama. Father of Africa set the law. The lion come and dismantle Babylon flaw. We gonna use solar energy, use sanitation to build the ecology. We utilizing green technology. We hailing Haile Selassie first without apology. And then we build the youth them economy. We dismantle Babylon monopoly. We teach the youths them how to live properly. Tell them make sure them got the title for them property.
Yes, this beautiful continent that I'm gonna show Mama Africa. From Cape to Cairo, from Timbuktu to the Nile, I smile for Mama Africa.
I love you, mama, your heart never harden. I wanna turn all your slums into garden. I wanna stop all of your youths from starving. I wanna stop all of your tribes from warring. So much to say, so many feelings. We both been hurt, we both need healing. Since the League of Nations you've been appealing. You stand up against them backdoor dealing. I hear you call Mama Africa. Been so long since I seen Mama. Father of Africa set the law. The lion come and dismantle Babylon flaw. Then I hear you call Mama Africa. Been so long in America. Father of Africa set the law. The lion come and dismantle Babylon flaw.
So be still, all enemies of Jah. Know that he is the King of Kings and Lord of Lords, the Lion Conqueror. And it was said of Ethiopia, the highest himself shall establish her. His Majesty was born there.
And I know that I love you so. There's no place that I'd rather go. Tired of walking through slush and snow. Repatriation, that's a must I know.
Yes.